Hi, soul family. So, I've met a lot of people. Not a lot, but like a few. Two. Okay, two. Two people who have also been through a divorce, and our conversations got me really thinking. Like, I've had this in my mind a while, but I thought it might be helpful to share because maybe this is something you've been experiencing, even if you haven't been divorced. But when it comes to social conditioning of love and what society has taught us is love. So, yeah, let's dive into my perspective of how romanticism has ruined love. So, first, let me start by saying that when I was married, so I was together for 5 years with someone, and we were married for 6 months. And like 2 weeks after I had the thought, after being married, I was like, oh, I feel like I married the wrong man. And I kept doing research and to see if anyone else felt that way. And apparently it's pretty normal to feel that way. And people just stick through it usually. Like, they recondition themselves to love that person, right? Which makes sense. But there's times too where, no, if you really know you married the wrong person, like, you probably shouldn't stay, right? So this is where I have changed since then, right? So first, let me talk about where I was in the marriage with my mindset and in that relationship versus where I am today in regards to my perspective about being in a relationship, like, and sharing a life with someone. So I at the time I was married and with that person, I had already been like doing all the work of myself, right? But so much of it was just psychological Western perspective. And so that meant all my trauma, all my needs, like, I had so many needs. My emotions had needs. And I wanted my husband to fulfill those needs, right? And that's such a modern day thing in the Western world. And it's very detrimental to love. It's actually the opposite of love. Because what I was taught through therapy is that it's healthy to have needs and that the person has to meet our needs, okay? And what I've learned is, no, there's a relationship that has needs, right? The relationship has needs, like communication, right? Um, be open minded, don't judge, right? But our emotions don't have needs. So whenever we're triggered and if wounds come up, which they inevitably will, because we're just mirrors for each other, we just go within and we process it ourselves. We bring closure to ourselves, and then we bring our healed self, our higher perspectives, and share that with our partner, right? I think I know that's what a healthy relationship looks like. That's the kind of relationship I want, at least. That's operating from love, because we're operating from our highest selves. We're operating as wholeness then, and from wholeness and from unconditional love. But if so many of us are taught in romanticism that, oh, once a man treats me this way, or once a woman treats me this way, or once I'm told I'm beautiful, or once I'm told I'm loved, then I'll feel loved, then I'll feel this way, right? So you're codependent, you're feeling of fulfillment, you're feeling of being loved, you're feeling of being desired. It's all like comes back on that other person, right? So it's outside yourself. So you're actually never embodying that. So until you choose to embody that for yourself, you are just putting it on a partner, and you're just going to have a recurring pattern of relationships failing in your life. And if they're not failing, maybe you'll just be energetically dependent on each other. And if you're okay with that, then that's cool. That's your path. I'm not okay with that. I want to grow to my infinite potential as much as possible here, and that means really being sovereign, operating like a sovereign person, an entity, not as someone who needs anything outside of me, right? This is also hard because men in our society have been taught that they need to be needed, right? That's their importance. So it's great to do things for women, and it's great. Women appreciate that. However, I think a healthy woman, like, now that I'm healthy, I know that the minute a man seeks to for me to validate his ego or like give him approval that he doesn't have within himself, that's my key to step back and go away and exit the relationship, because we have to do that work on ourselves and be our own validation, be our own approval first. So once we operate from that place as a whole person, then the relationship will be so much more whole, right? So where romanticism, that's what I was stuck in, like, oh, if we just go on date nights, right, the relationship will get better. If we just do this a certain way, if he could just listen more, if he could just do this for me, if he could do this for me, that sentence, right? How many women say that? And same with men. How many of us say that to our partners? If you could do this for me, then I'd be happy. If they could just do this for me, then it'd be perfect. So romanticism just really all about fantasizing about the opposite gender meeting our needs, right? Or same gender, whatever you're into. But anyway, the relationship will salvage a part of us instead of us doing our own shadow work and really healing ourselves. Now, compare this to arranged marriages in India. I've always been super into that and super intrigued because it's so committal based and based in wholeness and based in true love, unconditional love, where it's not about, of course, there's compatibility, right? They arrange by compatibility. But they enter into the marriage with an understanding that it's a choice, that love is a choice. Love is not gone when someone acts a certain way or isn't one way, right? It doesn't go away. And I feel like that's what so many people in Western society do. It's like, based on your mood or based on who they're being, then I love you. And that's not love at all. That's using someone, right? So it was really interesting because in hindsight, now anyone who's been through divorce, I think you can agree that divorce just shows you how much you were operating in old patterns that didn't serve love. And maybe you're repeating family patterns of what you thought was love in the marriage, right? So you took on this role and then you put your partner in that role, something you were familiar with, and then you just kept regurgitating the conditioning you had growing up, right? That's what I found. And then when we exit the marriage, it's like, oh, now I can separate myself from my family identity, separate myself from whatever I thought I needed my partner to be, and create my own meaning for relationships and be enough for myself. Like, that's the gift of divorce, right? So once we're there, like, it's such a blessing to be able to see everything we put on our partners in the marriage. Where did we fail love itself? Not even where do we fail our partners or ourselves, where did we fail love, right? And for me, I put so much on my partner to meet my needs. Oh my gosh, I did so much work still, but like I was not whole. I was not operating from a whole place. And I feel like my partner, he actually was operating from a whole place, but he had different understanding of what a relationship took. So I understood, I was really good with the relationship, like giving things to the relationship, but I wasn't operating from a whole place. And he was the opposite, where it's like he was a very whole person, but would fall short of what the relationship needed, right? So that was our incompatibility in a sense. And so I was just, again, unfortunately, I became one of those women who just was like trying to change him. And I look back and I think I was so unable to love in the way that I truly wanted to love, right? Like, because I didn't love myself. I didn't feel like enough. I didn't feel valued because I didn't value myself, right? There was so much that was just a reflection of my own incompletion, my own self-concept and image. So it was really awesome to exit the marriage and then just really, really dive into myself. And it's been like over a year now, and I've loved myself more deeply than I ever thought possible. And it just like, it keeps getting deeper and deeper every day. And yeah, I feel like I've just completely let go of the idea of romantic relationship ever again. So Yeah, I wonder if anyone can relate to this. You know, in what ways, I would love to know in the comments, like, tell me, how have you seen romanticism play out in our society or in your own life where you recognize like it's detrimental to love, to real love? And what did you do about it, you know? For me, I think now it's just like friendship is super important and platonic love first, and then like building off of that, right? So, and then just a choice. Like, love is just a choice. And I've been able to love someone to the point where it's like, it doesn't matter what goes on, it doesn't matter what happens within the connection, it doesn't matter how someone's acting, it doesn't matter what quote unquote issues there are, because love still is there no matter what. That's what love is. Love never changes, right? Love never changes. And then it's just sharing our highest versions of ourselves with each other. Of course, we're going to see the ugly stuff, right? But it's learning to bring closure to ourselves instead of thinking we need closure from our partner every time we feel wounded. Every time we feel wounded, we're deceived into thinking that we need something from them to make that feeling go away, but it's not true. That's every time we feel wounded, it's just the relationship exposing something in ourselves that only we can bring closure to, right? And I just, the last thing I'll say is I was thinking earlier about how children love. Think about when a child is in love. Like, they just share, they give things to each other, and it's like so sweet and so pure and so tender, right? Like, here, take this ice cream, here, have this, here. No expectation, just loving. And I know you might think that's naive, but I don't think it is. I think that actually is love. You're just enjoying each other and you're sharing with each other and you're giving only goodness to each other. You're not taking your feelings out on each other. You're not taking your trauma out on each other. You're not using the other person to help you process your shadow. No, that's not your partner's role. I think your partner's role is just to love you, to support your highest self, and to view you as your highest self. And it's so funny because at the time, my ex and I were actually writing a book called God Seeking Goddess, and he was right on so many points. Like, now I can see from such a higher perspective, and yeah, like I get it now. Like, like I've embodied what we were conceiving in that book, so that's really cool. Um, Anyway, I look forward to hearing your comments, learning more about your stories. If this can help you, let me know. But if you are divorced, just know, like, use that opportunity. It's such a gift to come into yourself fully as wholeness, to being enough for yourself, so you can give that to your children, your future partner. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And I really look forward to reading your comments.